Welcome to another episode, everyone. Why Monster Cody was not afraid of Big U and the Rolling 60s. In fact, Monster Cody is accused, his own mother is saying, that him and his cohorts, him and his homeboys, chopped off a dude from Rolling 60s arms and brought him back. Monster Cody came walking in the house with an arm. Man, this is nuts. Check this out.
Do you have any idea how many people you've killed?
No, I don't even know.
Monster Cody did an interview, and he said that he brought somebody's arm. He brought somebody's arm back to a meeting, and that was Jay Blake's arm.
You mean to tell me that story is real?
Yes, that was Jay Blake's arm. It was real. He did bring an arm back. They chopped him up and put him in front of Jefferson High School.
And a lot of them.
Dang. Oh, I said his mom. I don't know if that's his mom. Probably was somebody up there emotional, crying. He said he did an interview where he said he brought somebody on, and she said, it's true. As she's in tears, he brought somebody's arm back, chopped him up in front of Jefferson High. Now, this was after, allegedly, the Rolling 60s had kidnapped a member from A-Trade Gangster's sister and held her for 3 days as a hostage and did some unspeakable things to her. Then they let her go. This was essentially, from my understanding, in retaliation for that, when they got the dude in front of Jefferson High and chopped him up and took his body parts with him.
He said a lot of treacherous things about him. They were scared of him. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
Few of the big homies. I mean, men ain't supposed to be scared of men, but they was afraid of him.
Big U's reputation already spoke volumes, but after the indictment against him, it became even more obvious to people just how much of a terror he really was. Some folks even started calling him the Blue Suge Knight of LA, known for intimidating people, extorting them, and allegedly going as far as murdering anyone who got in his way.
They do say that part of the investigation involves the murder of another young rapper back in Las Vegas. That the murder was over, are you ready for this? A diss. That he had written something in a song supposedly talking bad about Big U, and that is why he ended up getting murdered.
But here's the thing. Big U and his Rollin' 60s crew might not have had the space to grow the way they did if one particular person was still in the picture. That person is none other than Sanyika Shakur, aka Monster Cody. If you think Big U was feared, Monster Cody was on another level, a straight-up psychotic menace. This man literally earned the nickname Monster after he beat a man's face so badly, it became completely unrecognizable. And just at the age of 13.
Where did Monster come from?
The name?
Yeah.
Because America produced me, but the name came from a beating that I had given the guy.
Okay.
And the dude hit me in the face, and then we chased him and beat him and stomped him and disfigured him, and the pigs, police, was saying that whoever had did this to this cat was Monster.
That's why a lot of people believe Big U wouldn't have been able to stand next to Cody, let alone rise up the way he did. In fact, some say Big U and his people might not have even existed.
I mean, of course, the debate rages on in certain circles of who is the most infamous coming out of LA, who is the most feared. You have other individuals that are that you may not know about that are extremely feared, and some figures in Los Angeles that everyone knows about. But between Big U and Tookie and Monster Cody, the debate has raged on who is the most famous or who is the most feared, who was the most monstrous. But really, it's not a big debate, I don't think. Because Monster Cody, as we're about to see, he was pretty, active in his day, violently active.
The way they do now. especially since one of the main sets Kody went hard against were the Rollin' 60s, during that brutal war between the 8 Trey gangster Crips and the Rollin' 60s.
Do you have any idea how many people you've killed?
No, I don't even know.
But you remember doing it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I was engaged in a war, and the rules of engagement were kill or be killed, you know?
Monster Cody was about 3 years ahead of Big U, so by the time Big U was really making moves and becoming a major figure, Kody was already out of the streets and no longer active with the 8 Treys.
I don't know about
Big
that.
U himself admitted that things would have been way more intense if Kody was still active, and he even said that Kody was one of his inspirations.
Kody was an enigma, man. If he could have stayed.
Well, that's not necessarily true. If Monster Cody is just 3 years ahead of Big U, then he was not out of the street and doing all of this other stuff when Big U was in the street. I just covered for you a couple of days ago when Big U went to the Los Angeles County Jail to 4800 to the Crip module, and that was in 1986. So that would mean that Big U was active then. He had a name then, or he was building his name, etc. He said he was 18 years old and he was in the Crip module. So that would have made Monster Cody 21. And Monster Cody was not out of the street. He was still building his name. He hadn't even written a book yet until 1993 or so.
Straight, he'd have been a mark. I look up to him. I got a lot of respect for him.
There's a lot to get into here, so let's dive in. Born in 1963, Kody grew up in an environment that was anything but nurturing. His father, Ernest, was abusive, frequently beating him, while his mother, Birdie, was distant and neglectful. The family dynamic was chaotic, and by the time his parents divorced in 1970, it was clear that Kody was already on a troubled path. Things only escalated further when, in 1972, his mother moved him to South Central Los Angeles, a neighborhood that, at the time, was quickly becoming a battleground for gang activity. It wasn't long before Kody found himself drawn to that world. One of his neighbors happened to be Stanley Tukey Williams, a man who would later become infamous as one of the co-founders of the Crips. Tukey took Kody under his wing, introducing him to gang culture. Kody would spend hours at Tukey's house watching older gang members lift weights, smoke PCP, and talk about the street life. To a kid with no real parental guidance, this was his version of education. He was soaking it all in, fascinated by the power and respect that these men commanded.
And at that age, it's very easy to feel powerless because a lot of us are powerless. So we join gangs, as I did, for the power. To be able to say, this is my crew, this is my posse, these are my homeboys.
Years later, Tukey would reflect on this period in his memoir, Blue Rage, Black.
And it always hits me, if you will, how smart Monster Cody was, even at a young age. As we can see there, with that interview there, he was very young. And he was speaking like that again during the interview that he had when he was in Pelican Bay. And he was speaking with 60 Minutes. And really throughout his life, he had written 3 books, but really all of these individuals were very smart individuals. Tukey, as we know, Tukey was also extremely smart and extremely brilliant. And a lot of these individuals are in the street as well. And that may seem like an oxymoron. How can you be in the street and be smart at the same time if you were smart? Because if you were smart, you would not be in the street. Of course, that argument can be made. Nevertheless, a lot of us have a dichotomy inside of us. We have one foot in and one foot out, and one way or another, whether it is that you are, because we have good and bad in us. So whether you are in the street or doing something else that you should not be doing when no one is looking, we all have it. And we all have to find a way to control it, and none of us are perfect. So I would just say that we all should withhold judgment, lest ye be judged. But Monster Cody, he could have done a lot more, with his life. He did a lot with his life, but he could have done a lot more, even more, because he was so brilliant, but he got caught up in certain things in the street that many individuals get caught up in. I don't know. I feel for him, I feel for some of the things that he's been through in his life.
redemption, expressing regret for exposing Kody to the gang lifestyle so early, but by then, the damage was already done. Kody was all in. By 1975, a new Crip faction called the 8 Trey Gangsters had formed in Kody's neighborhood, and he wasted no time joining up. He had just graduated from 6th grade, but instead of worrying about school, he was already making a name for himself in the streets. His initiation was no joke. One night, he and some other gang members stole a car, loaded it up with weapons, and went hunting for rival gang members. Their target was a group of Bloods known as the Brims, and Kody was handed a sawed-off 12-gauge shotgun with strict instructions. He wasn't allowed to leave the scene until he had fired every last shell. That was his entry into the gang world, and from then on, he was locked in.
He joined the Crips at age 11 on the day he graduated from the 6th grade. That night, he says he was given a shotgun, and for his initiation, he pumped 8 rounds into the ranks of a rival gang.
His reputation as Monster Cody only grew from there. He became known as one of the most ruthless members of the 8 Trey Gangsters, and his name struck fear into both enemies.
11 years old. Hey! And that's why I say we have to stop our children from running the streets at that sort of age. It's on the individuals in the community to send them back home. It's on the men in the community to say, there's nothing that we can do with you at 11 years old. You need to be at home. You need to be in school. You don't need to be out here hanging out doing anything that involves anything in the streets at 11 years old, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. No, we're not going to accept you. There's nothing that we can do with you. Go home to your damn mama.
And allies. By the time he was 14, he had already caught his first serious case. In 1978, he was arrested for shooting a fast food worker who had disrespected his younger brother Kershawn. When he got out, the streets had already started to shift. The 8 Treys, who used to be tight with the Rollin' 60s Crips, fell out after a fistfight turned into gunplay. Things hit a point of no return when a new 8 Trey recruit took out Tyrone, the younger brother of Big Rick, a respected Rollin' 60s member. That move shifted the whole dynamic in the streets. Hoods that were once cool had to pick sides, and old friendships turned into deadly beefs.
So every Friday, that became like our routine. We'd meet up there and fight. The 8 Treys, 9-0s, the Hoovers, every Friday we would meet at the same spot and fight. So then that one Friday, that's when Tyrone got killed.
Monster was all in. The war with the 60s kicked off heavy, and he was already going at it with their blood rivals too, sets like the Brims and the Inglewood families. In the summer of 1980, Monster's mom asked him to walk with her to the store. She liked shopping at this spot called the Buddha Market, which just so happened to be deep in Rollin' 60s territory. Sure enough, while there, Monster got into a shootout with a 60s member right outside the store. He caught a case for it, but ended up beating it. Then on July 8, 1980, Monster's girlfriend had just given birth to his first child. On his way to the hospital, he passed through 60s turf and spotted a dude known as Bank Robber, a 60s member. Monster didn't hesitate. He shot him multiple times and drove off. By this point, Monster said the war had already claimed lives. 8 Treys had lost about 5 people.
Yeah, that's pretty active. You on the way to the hospital because your baby mother is in labor or just had the baby. You're on the way there to see your baby. You got a gun on you and happen to see a so-called op on your way to the hospital and open fire on this individual. And then what? Just keep going to the hospital to go and greet your baby? Oh, my God.
People, and the Rollin' 60s had lost around 8. Things had gotten way past just fights and shootouts. This was full-blown war. At one point, the 60s even kidnapped an 8 Trey member's sister and held her for 3 days, doing some truly graphic, messed up things to her. That act alone sparked a whole new level of retaliation. Some 8 Trey gangsters wanted revenge, and not just on anyone. They were gunning for high-profile 60s, but they couldn't find them though. So instead, they caught another 60s member and went brutal, chopped him up, and even kept his arms as trophies.
Monster Cody did an interview, and he said that he brought somebody's arm.
You mean to tell me that story is real?
Yes, that was Jake.
Dude, so you mean to tell me that story is real? I guess that's maybe Alex Alonzo. Yeah. They said, so they kidnapped someone from 8 Trey Gangsta's sister, as we just heard. Did some graphic, unspeakable, and unthinkable things to her for 3 days and then let her go. Yeah, that's going to cause some traumatized, traumatic type responses. So these individuals were out for blood and they're looking for some trophies. They're looking for some individuals to get back on, to get these individuals somewhere and torture them the same way that they had apparently tortured the sister of one of the members. They were out for blood. And since they couldn't get who they wanted, for whatever reason, they said, well, enough of this. We about to get somebody, and got somebody in front of the school. It had to have been during school or broad daylight or something, and demolished him. Clearly, if they didn't cut off his arms. Jeez. Right there in front of the school, and then kept it and took it back with you. Said, look what I got. Look. Oh my goodness.
His arm. It was real. He did bring an arm back. They chopped him up and put him in front of Jefferson High School.
Oh.
By the end of 1980,
Oh, they put him
Monster
in
got
front of
set up by
Jefferson.
3 women and ambushed by the 60s. He got shot multiple times but survived. Just 2 days after getting out the hospital, police picked him up for 6 different shootings. He went back to jail to fight the charges and again beat the cases. But soon, Monster ended up getting sent back to jail again. Now, despite dropping out of high school, Kody found himself drawn to education while behind bars. Prison gave him time to think, and he used that time to read, learning about Malcolm X, the Black Panthers, and revolutionary ideologies that made him question everything he had been taught in the streets. He started associating with members of the Republic of New Africa, and that exposure pushed him to re-examine his purpose. It wasn't just about survival anymore. He wanted something bigger, something that mattered. His involvement in activism deepened when he participated in the 1992 Los Angeles riots, a massive uprising sparked by the brutal beating of Rodney King by LAPD officers. The riots were a turning point in L.A.'s history, and Kody was right in the middle of it, standing with his people in defiance of a system that had oppressed them for generations. That, of course, led to yet another arrest. By 1993, Kody was sitting in solitary confinement at Pelican Bay State Prison, one of the most notorious prisons in California. But it was in that cell, alone with his thoughts, that he decided to write down his life story. That decision led to Monster, the autobiography of an LA gang member, a book that would shake the world. At that time, gang culture was still somewhat of a mystery to the general public. Most people only saw the surface-level violence, but Kody's book gave them a first-hand account of what life in the trenches was really like.
This book is 383 pages of reality. I'm uniquely qualified to write 383 pages of life for this generation, and that's what I've done. It's 383 pages of gore, no doubt about that, but it's reality. It happens every day.
Kody went on to write 2 more books, a novel titled Thug Life and another one called Stand Up, Struggle Forward, New African Revolutionary Writings on Nation, Class, and Patriarchy. He was even working on a third before he passed. Now, for someone as monstrous as Monster Cody once was, he still managed to turn his life around, becoming an author and activist, despite being one of the most—
Well, that would have been his 4th book. He already had 3 books. And again, it's just his intelligence, how reflective he always is. Even when he's asked questions, he's reflective before he answers. Oh, man. Just, jeez. I don't know, man. Just intelligent. And could have, Big U also. Big U was saying, remember the other day how he had written everything down while he was inside of his jail cell, everything that he wanted to do. George Jackson, of course, was writing from his jail cell. Monster Cody wrote his book in his jail cell. You're sitting in there, you have all of this creative energy, and you really have no outlet for it except to put it on paper. That's why you'll find many individuals there in prison. Writing often is cathartic. It's a release for them. Reading and writing. It's just, oh man. All of them, they all really took a nasty turn. Monster Cody, Tookie, they're both gone, dead. And Big U was in there fighting for his life. At the end of the day, with those kind of odds, the message is clear. Or at least it should be, that this is not the sort of lifestyle that you want to live, because it's not lasting. It is not infinite. And in fact, it's just a matter of time before you have a lifetime of regret.
Notorious figures out there. But on the flip side, you have Big U, who came up 3 years after Kody. Instead of learning anything from him, he built a name as a bully, never even doing half of what Kody did. And now, it looks like karma has caught up with him. He might just end up rotting in prison for a long time.
Okay, but how do you know? Damn. How do you know that he has not done even half of what Kody has done? That's what he just said. Big U has not even done half of what Monster Cody has done. That is sort of what individuals do believe, though. But I don't know that to be a fact. We don't know what Big U has done. Certainly, I mean, the charges there's a lot going on. The charges he's facing right now, they're not necessarily friendly. He's accused of taking someone out in Vegas, his son's friend, over this diss song or whatever, as the newscaster had alluded to earlier. Burying him in a ditch. Who knows what else? He grew up in a very dangerous, violent neighborhood as well, and he had to make his way coming up. He just hasn't necessarily told his story in a book or whatever, and many people haven't perhaps spoken on some of his exploits, but we don't know. I don't anyway. But nevertheless, we do know that Monster Cody was indeed a very dangerous individual in his day. It's just we've heard too many stories about it for them not to be true. Clearly, some of the things that he had gotten involved with had taken a toll on his life, taken a toll on his body, taken a toll on his mind. So, as it does and will with anyone, that's why we have to stay, walk the fine line if we can. But life be life, and life gets in the way sometimes. Things happen, and none of us are perfect, man. I just wish that things would have been different. Things could have been different. You don't have to make that a part one, man, because it's already been going on for a minute. I'll do part two right now, though, and bring y'all the rest of this, man. I want to know what else happened myself. I mean, this dude, chopping off, sheesh. Damn. Sheesh. That's cold. It was some vicious stuff going on back in those days in LA, but everywhere, But I'm saying, they kidnapped a sister. People were doing this sort of stuff. They'd get your family if they couldn't get to you. Kidnapped a sister and did some unspeakable things. Use your imagination what these things could have been. And then it's worse than that. And then let her go. And of course, can you imagine the brother? How he feels about that, his gang, and probably feeling guilty that because he's a gang member that they came and got his sister and did this to her. He's out looking for revenge. So was everybody else. And then got someone and chopped him up and threw him in front of Jefferson. I thought they said that they did it in front of Jefferson. But apparently they put the body in front of Jefferson High after they chopped him up. Oh, wow. That is crazy. Yeah. I'm sure he did not fear Big U or anyone else. Monster Cody didn't fear anyone. A lot of people feared him, though, some real tough guys, some real individuals. And it doesn't mean that they're not tough because they feared him. No, it just means that they had sense. Anyone who's going around doing that sort of chopping off arms and all that, yeah, you may want to stay out of the way. You may not want to challenge this individual. I'm not sure that Big U ever really did challenge him, but Monster Cody was shot too, 7 times or so by the 60s. I mean, they were going back and forth. It was an ugly situation and an ugly war. Hopefully all of this stuff can come to an end soon. It's pretty much coming to an end. Gang banging is just It's over with. If you're still trying to do it in 2026, you're still trying to make it in 2026, you're still trying to build a name for yourself in 2026 and all of that, you're cooked. It's over. It's too late. Hell, it's been over since about 96. It's horrible now. There's no need for it now. It's absolutely asinine at this point. No way. Okay, we'll leave it there for now. Let me know what you think in the comments. And rest in peace to Monster Cody. Rest in peace to Tookie. Stay strong to Big U. We'll see what happens with his situation. These are some individuals that did pave the way for a lot of individuals. Of course, it was not in the best of ways, because we're talking about with gang banging and destruction and genocide in the community and in the culture. But they were only doing what they knew and what they were taught. We're trying to do better now. We want to know, but we want to do better now. The individuals from my generation that helped to put these problems into place, we have a job to do to undo the wrong that we've done by helping to bring this destruction and participating in this destruction in the community. And if you don't do it, then you're going to go to your grave having not redeemed your life. You don't have much time. 50 and over, you don't have much time. So we got to get to work every day. We're trying to help the community and do things that we didn't do in the beginning and undo some of the wrong that we helped to put into place. I'll do part 2 today. Rest in peace to those individuals. Stay safe and stay free. Whoa.